Hi, this is Gail Hogue. I'm here today with my husband Gregory. And what we have been talking about that we wanted to share with you are some conversations about millennials and how they're really different from a lot of other generations. And also how we relate to that because Gregory and I grew up in the 60s. We were the flower children, the hippies, whatever you want to call it. We were those people who looked out at the world and went, this isn't the way that I want to continue. I don't fit into this mold. I'm not quite sure what it is that I want, but I can see that there are injustices that just don't work. So when I was 18 and going off to college, some of the issues that were real hot at that time were about women's rights. We can relate and see where we're at with that. We had serious issues around war. We had the war in Vietnam. And of course, we have concerns about what's going on in our relationship with other parts of the world. And we had major issues about racism and how people of different nationalities, people of color, were being mistreated and weren't being given the same kinds of opportunities as white people in this country. And as a result, I was more focused back then on the issues that were out there rather than what I was studying in college. And I was very deeply disturbed by what my future looked like. I wanted something different. I wanted to be an empowered human being. I wanted to be a creative human being. And I wanted to make a contribution in a way that was different than just getting a job and fitting into a particular mold that in a lot of cases college and education was preparing us for. And in the meantime, as we went along that path, jobs weren't the same, things were changing, the job market was really different, where people of our parents' generation had jobs for life. Well, that certainly wasn't true anymore. There were so many different things changing, and I think that there's a real correlation between what has happened now, what a lot of young people, millennials, are working with now, and what we experienced and what we have learned from it all. So we want to kind of just talk a little bit about that, some of the issues, and what we see as ways that the work that we do with sacred geometry and consciousness can contribute to the quality of life for people, including and especially the millennials.
The millennials are moving us further into our spiritual evolution. And this is what I mean by that. A few years ago, I was at an Arise festival. This is a festival with here in Colorado. A lot of young millennials were there. And while I was there, I bumped into an old friend, Rennie Davis. Some of you older people may remember Rennie Davis was part of the Chicago 7. There was a whole uprising of the 60s generation on what was going on in Chicago, where during an election there was a lot of mistreatment and things were going off. And he was one of the people that was arrested that spoke. And what he told me at this Arise Festival is this is very interesting. These people, these young people, are as dedicated to purpose and making a change as we were back in the 60s. There's some energy here where things are wanting to transform, things are wanting to shift in their world. And I want to now take a little bit of a oblique sojourn into some interesting facts, and that is one, science has been showing that the human brain in the last 100 years has been expanding in a skull that has increased 10% in only 100 years. That's the amount of brain capacity of something the size of my fist. So that means that over 100 years, people's brains have been getting larger, which is a reflection of something going on energetically on higher levels. I mean, always what's happening here in the physical is a reflection of shifts happening in the totality of who we are. And we're multidimensional beings. So only 10% of us being here, that's the part that we're starting to see shift. Now, the brains are getting bigger, and something else that happened in another study that was very interesting is that we're seeing IQs have been steadily going up, such that a person who would have been considered very intelligent, getting 120, 110 IQ, even 100 years ago, today wouldn't even be able to break that bar because IQ levels have been going up. So that means that something is happening in our consciousness that is expanding, that we are seeing reflected in each generation that's coming in. What we are seeing, in essence, with the millennials is an increased sense of connection to the bigger part of themselves. And this is being evidenced in the workplace where they are being, just accused of wanting to work for a purpose, wanting to work in a way that they make an impact. And of course, they're being derided by some for this, but that is really the essence of what's going on with the spiritual development in the world right now with more and more human beings, especially the younger ones coming up. It's this sense that we are part of something larger. We are part of a whole. We're working for a unity consciousness. We're working to serve the whole because we recognize that just as I have certain things of value to do in this world, every single person has another aspect of me, like my left hand versus my right hand, needs to start recognizing that we're in this together and that we have a way of working together where we can make a difference in the quality of our lives. And the quality is more than physical quality. The quality is really an emotional, spiritual quality that we're looking to build. And so consequently, what's happening is we are starting to watch the beings coming into incarnation right now. And another aspect that's rather curious that I've noticed and brought up a number of times is that there seems to be an increased remembering of past lives. And one way we're watching this evidence itself is that there are men remembering that they were women and feeling that this is their really rightful expression. And there are women remembering that they were men and feeling that this is how they have to express themselves, even though they have a woman's body. There are more and more people coming up now where they feel just androgynous, that they've been so many times male, so many times female, that right now I can relate to both. It's all part of my context. And this is happening more and more. And I believe part of the reason is that we are moving to the bigger part of ourselves that is more inclusive. And so these are some of the aspects that we're finding very interesting in today's world.